All right, so, I say just bear with me tonight because we have a lot going on. My heart, my passion was for you guys to truly get an opportunity to see what it is that Speed the Light truly is doing across our globe. So tonight, I'm blessed to have with me some more friends. So we have David Bongiorno. David is, basically your dad, but I'm going to say you're taking over. So I'm going to say David's the founder of WorldServe. John, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but David is, I've appreciated the relationship that he and I have gained over the past year and a half. So David, and then we have missionaries to basically all over Africa, Scott and Karen Hansen, so thank you guys. And the DYD from Northern Cal, Shar Blair. So some of these guys know what's going on. Some really they don't really have an idea. But first of all, Scott, let me start with you. You've been a missionary to Africa for a lot of years. That video was one who you discipled. And when I watched that video, really what turned my heart was the fact that you have a man that you discipled not only to be a pastor, but ultimately he's a missionary throughout the continent of Africa. Like that was that's one of yours. That's your disciple. Okay, first of all, give us a journey for your life throughout Africa, and what does it feel like in that moment to see one of yours going out and actually gather and flock?
So I went to Africa when I was 6 years old, 1976. My wife went in 1971. We've spent our whole lives in Africa. In 1991, we had an experience right after we got married that completely changed the course of our lives. We went to visit an unreached people group called the Hadzabe people. We climbed into our car, Speed the Light car. We drove way out into the bush. We got to this little town and tried to find out where they were. And eventually we found this little cow trail that we went down deep into this valley. Got to this little village. We said, where are the Hadzabe? And they said, oh, they're out there. And we said, well, what do you mean out there? They said, they're hunters and gatherers. We have no idea where they live. They live out in the forest. There's no roads out there. So we weren't sure what to do. And all of a sudden, who should walk into town but a Hadzabe guy? And when he walked towards us, we realized where he was from. And we said, is there any way you could take us to your village? And he said, sure. So he climbed in our car. We took off across the plains, across a dry riverbed, into this baobab forest, no roads. And I remember breaking into this little village where the Hadzabe people were. They'd never had farms. They had never had cows, goats. They were hunters and gatherers. They lived in these little grass huts. David, you've been there before. And we spent 2 days with them. The poorest people I've ever seen. The poorest people I've ever met. And yet when we left there 2 days later, what really wrenched our hearts was not their physical state. It wasn't the fact that they had limited access to water, that they lived a very poor life. What really wrenched our hearts was in their area, there were no churches, no Bibles, no Christians. There was no way for them to say yes to Jesus. And that was the moment when God spoke to our hearts and said, somehow you have to make a difference in people's lives like this. So about 3 years later, that led us back to Tanzania. We were actually about 60 miles away from the Hadzabe, met Balela, began to develop a relationship with him. And over the last 25 years, we've worked closely together. Wow. He is a dear, dear friend. We love him dearly.
Awesome. So, we have an amazing partnership going on right now with Speed the Light and WorldServe. I've had the privilege of getting to know you and Dad over the past 18 months now. And a lot of people don't really understand what it is that WorldServe is doing. So can you give us a quick, cliff notes on WorldServe, what it is that you're doing throughout the continent of Africa and ultimately beyond?
Yeah, sure, Eric. Clean water projects. So clean water projects. You heard Bishop Kitoto just got off the stage talking about 2 hours to 10 hours is what the average woman and child walks to get clean water. Now, we've been fortunate enough to just be in the presence in East Africa, especially with Scott. The same stories that he was just sharing, we were able to go out to these communities, and we were able to put 20-some clean water projects where people could get water and access to clean water right there in their own community. And what that did was it opened up a door where then we were able to put missionaries in place there, where we were able to plant churches for these people. Because, like Scott said, they've never heard the gospel before. They didn't even know who Jesus was. I remember one time my dad was sharing with me when he went up to one of these villages, the missionary out there said to my dad, his name's John, he said, John, ask them if they know who Jesus is. And there was this elderly woman, and my dad said, do you know who Jesus is? And she goes, I think he's in the next village over. and she had never heard the name of Jesus before. So when we put a water project in, and when I talk about water, it's a clean water well. We go deep and we get the water. We use solar pumping systems, so we use new technologies. We want to give Africa their best. And so we put the water there, and that opens up a door. And when that door is open, that allows us to talk about the living water of Jesus Christ. And when people hear about the living water of Jesus Christ, they never turn back from that. So it's been an awesome, awesome privilege to work with, yeah.
You know, and what they may not know, David, is the fact that you guys, your partnerships, it's just not the church. Like, you have professional athletes that are partnering with you guys to provide clean water. Talk to us just real quick about that.
Yeah, so it's been a really neat privilege. I just got back from Africa last week. I was with Malcolm Brogdon of the NBA. Malcolm just signed a contract with the Indiana Pacers and a couple other NBA players. So we've been able to strategically work outside of the church to raise funds, and what they do when we raise the funds there, we match it with every dollar that Speed the Light is raising as well. And so we use outside the church, and the neat thing with the partnership with the missionaries and with the national churches in Tanzania, Kenya, wherever we're working at, they choose and they decide based on where the need's at, where they want to bring the gospel to lost people groups, into Muslim communities. They do this, and they tell us where they want the water projects to be at. And that's where we step in then. Yeah. We use the influence that we have even outside the church and get a partner with Speed the Light, get a partner with the missionaries and the national churches in these countries to bring people, again, clean water. So people that even here in the U.S. don't even know the gospel themselves, they're actually providing the gospel to people over in Africa. So it's awesome.
It's so great because just a couple months back, myself, a couple of DYDs, Josh, we're at an event to where Jack Nicklaus Jr., so Jack Nicklaus, PGA golfer, well-known, his son is in that room, and I'm bragging about what it is that students are doing throughout our nation for Speed the Light. And as Jack Nicklaus Jr. and Doug Pitt and Chris Long are sitting there and they're presenting, they said the words, "We can't be outgiven by a bunch of 12 to 15-year-olds." So students, you truly are inspiring others to give generously to missions. You don't even begin to understand the impact that you're making. And hearing that, Shar, I come to you. The DYD in Northern Cal, what's Speed the Light mean to you? And okay, just like you're sitting here hearing the heart of the missionary, the heart of WorldServe, like what's God speaking to you in this moment when it comes to Speed the Light?
Oh, we absolutely, the students of NorCal, Nevada, we love Speed the Light. It gives us an opportunity to partner with our missionaries, and yet they're able to still wake up and go to their classes the next day. So they know that they're effective on the mission field, and actually they're effective at home as well. So we love the Hansens and what they're doing. I've known them for years, and what they're doing in Africa is tremendous. And so we know that Speed the Light spreads the gospel, and we are so excited to be able to partner with you guys.
So, you know, what's going on? What's been neat for me, the process, since basically April of 2018, we've started talking to WorldServe, and we began dreaming about what it would look like to have a missionary group like WorldServe partner with us and partner with districts when it came to Speed the Light. So what the Hansens don't know is that WorldServe and the Northern Cal District have come together, and they are immediately releasing the funds for your field vehicle. Oh my God. So when you get back there, you get to go shopping because that field, we know you're traveling. We know you have a Speed Light vehicle, but we also know that you put in a request for a vehicle for the field, and these guys have decided to take care of it right now. So from the bottom of our hearts, and that's what I love about the Buongiornos. God's using them to impact the world in such a way to where others, even outside the church, are given generously, and they're taking those funds, and their heart and their desire is to help us provide vehicles for our missionaries. So we're honored to serve alongside of you. I continue to say it, missionaries, you're our heroes. We believe that, right, David, Shar? And we look forward to see what God can do in the future as we really launch this thing globally with this generation of students. Thank you guys so much. God bless you. All right, so is it okay if I bring one more group up